Hi all, hope all of you are doing good. In today's video, let's see how meta objects can be used on our Shopify's storefront. So basically meta objects help us to add and store additional structured information for your store. For example, if you want to add some size chart or some specifications for a particular product, you can use meta objects for that, and once you add those data you can actually retrieve it and show it on the storefront, as well as you can edit it. We will go into more details about that. We create meta objects basically like how we create the meta fields itself. We create it and then we link it as a meta object, so that's how we will be doing that. So once you create a meta object, you will need to give it a name, a type, and the fields that you wanted to have it on the meta object. Now I will show you how and in which kind of stores we can use the meta objects. I'm just showing few examples only here. You can use it in all kind of stores based on your store domain and your store niche and what all things you want to show on the storefront to the customer. You can customize or create meta objects in the similar way. I'm just showing few examples here. For example, consider if you have a beauty product store. In that case, you can create a meta object called ingredients. You can create different meta fields like list of components and allergen information, and then fetch all this data and show it on the storefront. You can also create a meta object called usage instructions, and you can actually have these fields, application method, frequency, or anything, whatever you wanted to have show to the customer in the usage instructions. You can create each of them as a meta field, and all those things will be there in the meta object called usage instructions. Then another example is you can create a skin type compatibility like that of meta object, and then it can have all these different fields that you wanted to have inside that meta object. Another example is expiration date. Okay, so if you have the shelf life and best before date, all these things, if you are on the manufacturing date, you wanted to show it on the product page or any of the pages for each particular product, we can create a meta objects similar to this, and then all these fields can be included in that meta object. Let's take another example. Here I am taking the example of a sports equipment store. In a sports equipment store, how we can use meta object is we can create meta object called specifications. Inside the specifications meta object, we can have different fields. For example, weight, material, size. These can be created as a meta field, and then we can link it to the meta object specifications. Another example is we can create a meta object called the suitable sports or activities or the recommended usage. Then meta object called safely guidelines. We can create a meta object called safely guidelines with all the guidelines, each one as a property or an attribute. We can create it and those values can be added. Then another one is the warranty information. We can create it as a meta object with what all kind of fields you want to have in that meta object. You can add those things as meta fields. Now let us take another example, which is a food store, for example. In that case, you can create a meta object called nutritional information. Inside the nutritional information, you can have different meta fields or properties. For example, we can say like calories, ingredients, whatever you want, you can create it, and all those data will be there in the meta object nutritional information. Now the origin, if you want to show it for each of the product, you can create a meta object called origin, and then have the fields like country of origin, ethical sourcing, or if you wanted to show like the any kind of image, the farmer's image that from where this is brought, all those things you can create as meta field and link it to the object called origin. Another thing that you can do is like the meta object taste profile that we can add. Okay, and another one is the storage instructions. These are just 3 examples of stores. I have just explained you how you can use the meta object. So based on your business or what all things you want to show to the customer, you can create meta objects like this and store all those informations that you want to show to the customer on the meta objects. In the back end, you can update those data, and on the front end, we can fetch those data easily and show it. We can edit it also at this single meta object place than going into each product and updating it. Earlier using meta fields, what was the drawback was we had to go into each product and update those fields. Now when this meta objects is implemented, we don't have to do that. We just have to edit it only in the meta objects, these fields, and everything will be updated accordingly. So now let's see how you can implement this meta object on the Shopify backend and how we can bring it into the front end. I'm going to take here an example of a clothing store. Here what my client wanted was, this is not the client store, this is just a dummy store. I'm just showing you how we will be using that. But in real case, we had a client who had a clothing store, and how they wanted was, they wanted to show the care instructions for each of these products. So each product was from a different fabric. For example, this one, if you can consider, is a linen fabric. This is a polyester fabric. This is a silk fabric. This is a rayon fabric. This is a woolen fabric. These are cotton fabrics. So each fabric will be having a different care instructions. So, and also we wanted to show these care instructions as maybe washing instructions was a different one, drying instructions was a different one, ironing instructions was a different one. So what we did, we created a meta object called care instructions, and all these 3 instructions, which were the washing, drying and ironing, was added into the meta object. So each time if you wanted to update any of these fields, it was much easier. We just go into the meta object, the corresponding meta object, and then update that. That's what we were doing. So let's see how we did that for the client and how helpful it was. In order to create the meta objects, you should go to the Shopify admin panel. So on the left hand side, on the tab menu, you can see an option called content. Click on this. So you get a drop down over here with these 2 types of meta objects and files over here. Now you can click on meta objects here. Then you have to go to this button called manage definitions. Click on manage definition, and you have to click on this button called add definition. Okay, so click on this. Now here is where we are going to add our meta object definition. So our meta object definition, you have to first give a name for that. For example, I'm giving the name as care instructions. Now you have to add what are the fields that will be there on the meta object care instructions. So let me give the fields as, first I need this single line text, and I'm going to give the name. Okay, here I'm going to give the name of the fabric. So here you can choose whether that has to be a required field, okay, and also you can set how many character count that value should be there. So I'm not going to give any validations over here. In case you want to give, you can give that. Here there is also an option where you can actually add a list of values. So if you add a list of values, now what happens is you don't have to type anything. You have to actually choose only from those list of values. Now let's click on add. So the first field of the meta object care instruction is created. Now let's create the next field, add field, and I'm going to give this as a single line text itself, and then name is washing, okay, which means the washing instructions that we are going to give, the washing instructions for the fabric. That's also a required field I'm giving. Next is also a single line text. I'm going to give it as drying instructions. Okay, so let's just give the name as drying. Here I'm not going to give any description over here, so because this is not a mandatory field. If you want to give a description, you can, or else you don't have to give it. Then required field also, if you want to give, you give it as a required field. Otherwise just do not check this required field, so it doesn't become a required field. Next I'm going to give as ironing instructions. Okay, so let's just click add field. So first we have to choose which is the type, then we have to type here the name, ironing, then ironing instructions for the product, for the fabric. So let's just give it as a required field. Now let us save it. So our meta object care instructions is created now. Next what we have to do is we have to add entries to these care instructions. Okay, so once you create the meta object, you will get an option over here itself. So you can click on this start adding entries, or what you can do is how to add an entry is go to the same content tab which is over here, click on the meta objects, and from this drop down you have to choose our meta object. care instructions. Okay, then you have to click on this button called add entry and add the value of these. So the first one, for example, I'm going to, the name of the fabric is cotton and the wash instruction will be machine wash. Okay, and the care instruction will be tumble dry, and we are going to give me can be ironed. Now we save it. Now let's add another entry which will be for wool. Okay, now the wash instructions we can give is hand wash. Drying instructions we can give as lay flat to air dry. Ironing instructions we can give as user low heat setting and iron side out. Okay, and let's click save. Now let's see all these entries that we have added, how it's coming. So you can see the care instructions meta object, and these are the entries that we have added. So for wool, what all instructions we have added. For cotton, that what all instructions we have added, we can see. Now let me go and add the remaining as well. Next fabric I have is silk, and I'm going to add it as hand wash, air dry, and low heat. Let me add the next entry, which is linen. For linen I can machine wash it, tumble dry. So that's also added. Now let me add the next entry, which is rayon. So the wash instruction is can wash, and I can add in cold water. Drying instruction is hang to dry. Ironing instruction is iron on low heat. So that's done. Now I have one more fabric type that I want to add, which is polyester. So wash instruction will be machine wash. Drying instruction will be tumble dry. Ironing instruction will be user low temperature setting. So we have added all these entries. Let's go back into the meta object and see. So we have added the entries for all the fabrics that we have on our store, which is polyester, rayon, linen, silk, wool and cotton. So all our meta object is created and the entries for the meta object is also created. So the main advantage what comes here is that in case you wanted to change the care instruction or you want to edit the care instruction of any of these fabric, the only thing you have to do is you just have to come to the meta object, choose the entry that you wanted to edit, and here you can edit it. Or if you want to add any other extra instructions, you can add that. So that's easy now than going into each of the product description. For example, earlier how we were doing is we used to add it in the product description. So what happens is all the products that are of the rayon category or the rayon fabric, we'll have to go into each product description and edit them. That was really it was not a feasible thing for us. And even when we were using meta fields also, each meta field we will have to go into each product and edit those things. But now you don't have to do all those things. You can create these entries. Just create a meta object with all the details, all the fields that you wanted to show, and then you can just go and edit the entries. And for all the products that are having this particular entry for that meta object, for all those it will be updated in one go than going into each product. Now let's see how we can show this in the storefront. So for that, what we need to do is we have to create a meta field first, okay, and link this meta object to that meta field. So that's what we are going to do next. For that, you have to go to settings, go to custom data. So click on product and we can click on this add definition, and let's give fabric care. Okay, fabric care we are giving it, and here we have to choose the type. So here what we will be doing is, if you scroll down, you can see a type called meta object. So this is what you have to choose over here. Okay, click on meta object. Now what happens is Shopify will show you all the meta objects that we have created. Now you have to click on this drop down and choose which meta object we want to link to this meta field. So our meta object's name is care instructions, so we click on that and we can click on save. Now we have created a meta field called fabric care and linked it to our meta object care instructions. Now let's see how it is going to come on the product. So let's go into the product. So let's choose this product. And if you scroll down, you can see the meta fields over here. So the meta field that we created called fabric is already there on the product. Now we have to click here and you can choose which entry you want to add over here. So you click on the select entry over here and choose which is the entry of the meta objects that we want to choose here. Since our product is an elegant silk scarf, we want to choose the fabric care for the silk entry. Okay, so we click on silk and we save it. Similar way, let's go to each of our product and then choose the corresponding fabric care from the entries we have added. Now this is a linen shirt, so here we wanted to choose the entry of linen. So let's save it. Let's go back, and now I have a polyester outdoor jacket here, so I wanted to choose the entry of the polyester. Click save. Now let's go back, and I have a rayon summer dress over here. So I have to choose the entry rayon. So this is like a cotton dress that I have. So here also I wanted to choose the entry cotton. This is also a cotton dress. So I just wanted to only choose the fabric care or the entry that we added, which is the cotton, and click save. Now I have a woolen sweater as well. Let's choose it as wool. Okay, and click save. So now we have linked all our product with the meta field through the meta object. Okay, now next thing what we need to do is we need to show these care instructions or the fabric instructions that we have added on the backend to the products that are on the storefront. So for example, this product, when a customer comes in, they need to see here what are the care instructions here we wanted to show it to them. Now to show it on the product page, we have to do some changes in the theme. So for that we need to go to customize over here, choose the product template from here, which is the default product template that we are choosing. So here we want to show those details. So let's click on add block and choose one block called collapsible row. Okay, so we want to show the wash instructions we will give over here, and then we will show it in the drop down. So let's click over here, and here we type it as washing instructions. Okay, and now the content, from what content we want to get it from the meta object. So we click on this connect dynamic source and choose the meta object called fabric over here. Once we click on that, it will show all the fields that we have added in the meta object called fabric care. Okay, so we can choose, this is washing instructions, so what we will give it as choose the washing over here, and we can click on save. Now what will happen is the heading washing instructions will show, and then the meta object entry that we have added for the corresponding meta field will be shown over here. Now let's add the others the similar way. Now I am going to another collapsible row, and then the heading will be ironing instructions. Same way we have to connect the dynamic resource over here, choose fabric care, and then we choose ironing, and we click on save. So now you can see the washing instructions and ironing instructions have come, and the value is getting populated from the entry that we have added in the meta object. Now let's go back and add another one, which is the drying instructions. Same way, connect the dynamic resource, choose the meta object fabric care, and choose the field that you wanted to fetch and show over there. Now here we want to choose the drying, and then click on save. So now you can see that these things have come. Now let's go into the website and see for all the products these are coming correctly on it. Okay, so here for this particular products these three are coming and all the instructions that we have given is added. Now let's go to some other product and check. So let's go to this polyester, and here also they have these, and see the instructions that we have added in the entry for the polyester is being shown over here. So this way you can actually add size charts and you can do a lot of things using the meta objects. So try it out and please let us know your feedback in the comment section below. Also don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give us a like if you like the video. Feel free to ask any questions or doubts you have while doing these things.